Okay, and then let's see on the YouTube side. And we are indeed live.
I do have a bit of a craft project to discuss.
Yay!
All right.
So there's stuff to talk about.
In that case, I will actually. Hello, Joe. Nice of you to join us. So hello, I'm Reija. This is the October Stitch and Bitch. Today I am here with Kelsey and Rachel, and Di is having a private engagement, so she will not be joining us today, which is probably why we will also be um, going a little shorter time today, but we will see. We will see how much we have to talk about, and also SAG AFTRA, the Actors Union, is still on strike. So, in solidarity with them, we will restrict our media coverage for non-struck works only. So, for
And
example, if anyone has some anime or stuff relating to that to discuss, otherwise we will not be talking about like struck media works.
the additional news on that front since last month is that yes, the writers' strike has resolved, but now SAG-AFTRA has added an extra strike for video games. So video
Yes.
games are now struck.
Yeah, so video games are struck work, which access immediately my media coverage. But we will get to that next month, hopefully. Let's hope the strike resolves. My understanding was that the basically the AI question is what's holding up the strike, because the studios would much rather not pay actors if they can just copy and paste like mocapped scans of actors and have AI kind of move them around like little puppets. So, you know,
Why?
not at all
No.
insidious.
That's not media. That's not entertainment.
Yeah, that's paint by numbers, isn't it? But yeah, let's go around and introduce ourselves. I can go first. If you have found yourself here, you are on my channel. My name is Reija, and my channel is The Bookfinch, and sometimes I talk about manga and stuff, and currently I mostly host my portions of these live shows. Kelsey, will you go next?
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I'm at Fancy Hat Lady Reads on YouTube and TikTok, where I discuss almost exclusively SFF books. This month, I am hosting a readathon that it is not too late to join if you wish to join. It is a month-long readathon called the No New Release-a-thon that is focused around reading books published prior to the year 2020. It's very open-ended in how you choose to accept that challenge. If you want to join, we're using the hashtag No New Release-a-thon on any and all social media platforms, and it is not too late to join. It's my little plug.
2 weeks left in October.
You can still read books. Yeah.
You can still read no new releases.
I'll say I've not been good about that. I have been reading new releases at the same time that I've been reading older books for the readathon. So
That's fine.
Oh yeah, I'm the last one. My name is Rachel. My channel is Colonati, though I'm not really active there right now. I mostly read and talk about science fiction, fantasy, and nonfiction, and that's pretty much it for me right now.
Then we can immediately move on to what we are making. Kelsey, would you want to start?
So what I'm doing right now is not my main project. Right now, what I'm doing is I am sewing a couple new buttons on the shoulder doodads of my October coat. My October coat I have had literally since I was a teenager. I bought this like in the juniors department of Macy's when I was in high school. And I saw it for like Halloween. I was like, this is perfect. But it's my witchy October coat.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
It is both a style and like a weight, an amount of warmth that I really can't get away with any month except October, when the weather is like right on the edge of chill and like the mood is spooky. So it's my October coat. There's a very narrow window of time every year when I can wear it. And last year, or maybe the year before, it's got these little shoulder doodads with it had buttons on them, and one of the buttons
Like
fell off.
epaulettes?
Kind of, but not exactly what I think of as epaulettes. They're probably technically epaulettes, but they're just little straps.
I mean, I guess they could be like epaulettes are basically.
They're
Hard to
straps.
say actually. Now that I'm thinking about it,
From,
because
like-
epaulettes
Well, I
usually
think
are
military
like.
I think of an epaulette
Yeah.
as something that goes this way, whereas these go that way. But it's something adjacent to an epaulette. The two buttons on them, and I didn't have appropriate replacement buttons, so I had to go button shopping, and I found these,
Ooh,
which are.
Nice.
I just realized when I took the button off the one shoulder that I had one on, that this was actually not one of the original buttons either. This must have been something I bought as a replacement at some point. But while this is beautiful, it's not actually as good a match for the coat as these new ones, because the main buttons on it are matte. So this is what the main buttons look like. And so I got
I think
these,
they're
which are
relatively close though.
very similar but larger. So I'm very happy with that, and I bought 3 of them, so I'm putting one on each shoulder, and then I do have a spare for the next time one of them falls off. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now, is sewing new buttons on. But the project that I would like some input on from my friends is what I'm going to be starting next. I expect I will finish the part of this that I can do right now very quickly, because it's just going to be seam ripping. You guys have seen me wear this skirt before, right? I brought it to some World Con where you both were there.
I think so, yeah.
I think
So this is
possibly.
This is a skirt I made when I was in college.
Did you bring that to Chicago, because you were matching your mask to something?
Yeah, I have
brought this one to Chicago.
Hmm.
I think I might have brought it to San Jose though.
I was not in San Jose, so hard to say.
Anyways, it's one of my summer skirts. I made it, but the pattern when I made it called for the lining to have this tulle ruffle, and over the years the tulle has just gotten absolutely decimated by wear, and it's fragile and it itches and it's gotten ratty and horrible. So it's at the point where I just don't wear the skirt anymore because of the condition that the tulle is in. Yes. So I'm taking the tulle off. But I have yet to find a proper replacement for it, because I won't be putting more tulle on. That's just not an option. It has to be something other than tulle. So
have you considered like lace trim, like Venetian lace?
I've been looking at like lace eyelet trim, like but I haven't found anything in a store that's both the right color and the right width, because I really want 3-inch width.
Does it have to be burgundy?
It does not. The light pink would also work.
I think the burgundy is really nice as a trim, though.
The thing with the burgundy is that the way I did this originally, the skirt is light pink with burgundy trim, and the over layer is also light pink with burgundy trim. So like the ruffle layer on both edges is, I got this really good color match between the tulle and so I found some options that I could buy online, but I'm really hesitant to do that purchase online without being able to like hold up the fabric and do a color check.
Can they send you samples?
Maybe. Do you know any place that I could? I mean, I don't. I
Like
usually
most big retailers do. Like if you have like usually it's easier if you are looking to buy like multiple or like more than one item. Usually they will send they if you ask they will send you like sample stuff from like a selection of your like choices. If you're just going to ask for one thing, it might be more like they might not want to like pay for the shipping of those.
like I am dead certain that one of the many stores in the garment district in New York that intimidate me slightly will have like a whole wall of the type
I
of
was
thing.
gonna say, you're in New York City. You can go
Yeah.
to that
I
place.
went to 2 trim stores already and didn't find anything, and I'm not sure how much pavement pounding I'm willing to do here. Because
If it's gonna like determine whether or not you will actually
get the project done.
that too, but also find actual like it will wear the item afterwards. You might as well spend the extra time to like actually get the thing that you want in order to get as much use out of the garment later.
Well, I
Because
mean,
if
if
you're
I
gonna
order something online and it doesn't look right, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna save it for my Easter bonnet next year and buy something else. You know, I'm not going to complete the project with a less than optimal material. The question is like, do I hold out for, you know, the possibility that I'm going to spend a day or two trudging through different stores on foot in Midtown?
Personally, I would trudge through the stores and then have the online option as the backup if you don't find anything at the stores. That's what I would do.
Yeah, because I went to 2 trim stores, not fabric stores, trim stores. Didn't find anything, and that has
You have
me
the
very
entire fabric district at your disposal.
I
There's more
know.
than 2.
I know, and every like there are. It's been a decently long time since I was like at all familiar with the range of fabric, like range of fabric stores in the garment district, and like some of them are much more sort of snobby insider, oh I don't belong here feeling than others, and like some of them are more touristy, and I'm not sure which stores should be on my list anymore, because like when I was in college making this skirt, like I found all these materials on my own, and I went to a bunch of different stores, but I no longer remember which stores I got these from. Like it's been a long time.
Think of it as an adventure. You get to experience and find new places, and then maybe you at the same time find awesome materials for your next Easter bonnet as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe even a Christmas bonnet, a Christmas
or
project.
you'll come away with all the materials for a new skirt.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen because I no longer have a sewing machine.
I mean, Rachel and I watch
So
enough YouTubers to know that you can hand sew an entire garment.
I'm not going to start a hand sew of an entire garment project. It's not going to happen.
It's a skirt. It's just a bunch of straight lines.
I mean, I just watched Nicole Rudolph make an entire, was it 17th century stays?
Yes.
Completely by hand. And that was a project where I was like, yeah.
You guys do realize the only reason I am still doing sewing projects at all is because I'm on this live stream with you. Like otherwise I would
So what you're saying is we are enabling you to...
you are enabling me?
We are enabling you to like...
But I think there's I have a limit.
No such thing.
But
I was telling it's been a while, but I was telling Rachel that like what once started as like a knitting hobby has now like resulted like in the spinning stuff, and so Rachel's next goal should be to buy a farm where she can raise sheep.
Okay, does everybody familiar with that thing on Instagram that everybody's been sending me? The whole like, I started crochet and then picked up knitting, and
Exactly,
then
the crochet to sheep farming pipeline.
yes, that post. I have had so many people DM that to me and be like,
I mean, I have
"Ooh,
sent it to you
you
once.
sent it to me. My dad sent it to me. My brother sent it to me.
Yes.
My friend Chris sent it to me. My sister-in-law sent it to me and said,
Yeah, so
so
I
I've
think
got
every
20
one of us
acres. You
like
want me to get sheep?" And I was like, no. That being said, my sister-in-law has recently fallen down the crochet rabbit hole. Like, she was never into the artsy craftsy stuff, but
so maybe you don't have to buy sheep. She will
I was
do it
gonna
for
say
you.
she has started crocheting sweaters. I'm just waiting for her to say it's not enough to have horses. Let's get some, goats. Let's get some sheep. I want her to get those Valois black nose sheep because they're the little Bo Peep sheep, and they're so freaking cute.
So basically, you are already scouting the proper sheep for her.
Maybe. But since she lives half a continent away from me, it'll have to be her decision. She'll be doing all the work. I'll just visit.
Anyway,
I'll visit once
Kelsey,
a year to pick up my fleece.
I mean, why not? I mean, Kelsey, the whole point is that you start small and then later you find out that you're making corsets and other doodads.
oh, I know. It scares me.
Just don't worry, you have emotional support in this group.
Start out sewing buttons.
Yeah, that's how it starts.
Um,
Next up, you will find out that you have started collecting various like craft items just in the case that you will need them, and then later you will actually start up a project.
I
Maybe
live in
pick
a
up
one-bedroom
embroidery.
apartment. I don't have the space for this.
I used to say that too. I was like, I live in a tiny house, and then I decided I was just gonna have to convert my entire basement to usable space. So
you have a basement.
yeah.
I mean, I also
have
live
two
in a.
rooms. There's a living
mean,
room and a bedroom. Oh, there is a bathroom. It's significantly smaller than what a
I
house
mean, I
bathroom
also
would look
live
like.
in an apartment building apartment, so I have limited space, and for some reason things just pile up. That's why you do projects,
I know, like
so
you're
that
saying,
the
like you live
things
in a
that
small
pile up.
apartment, but when we were there, we were talking about like, well, how does my house compare to your apartment? And it's like the livable floor space of your apartment is the space of most of my house. Like they're not that different in size. The only difference is I have the basement. So
Yeah, well,
If I had a basement, I would fill it with so much stuff and we would be cooking.
I wish I had a basement, honestly. So some of the stuff that I have to store because I don't have one of those like, because usually these apartment buildings like come with this kind of what we call a cage storage. So each apartment block has this like storage unit in the basement of the apartment building where you can store stuff like your winter equipment or stuff like that.
If I
And
had even that, that would be a luxury. I'm at the point where I need to either do a purge and get rid of like a ton of the stuff that I've been stuffing in closets and boxes, or I need to rent a mini storage locker somewhere.
I mean, at this point, I am in a similar boat, and I guess I will have to do a purge of some kind. But it's like a daunting task, so I'm procrastinating on other things and not doing it.
But can I go back to my craft project particulars?
Yes.
Is there a way I can screen share in Stream?
present.
Present. I'm not sure if it's only available for the host though.
I can see it. I have a present option.
I'm gonna try this. Oh, I might need to change my Chrome settings because I want to show you a trim. I don't know how to change my Chrome settings.
Can you just link it to the private chat and I will share it? If you want to show it to
Yeah,
people.
it's on Etsy. There is the closest thing to like a maroon eyelet trim that I found. Hold on.
Yeah, just link it and I will present it.
The nice thing is that if you get something like on Etsy, it's really flexible. You can always like message the store owner or something and be like, hey, I'm not sure about this. Can I pay for a sample or something?
So the maroon color is the last photo down the side.
This one?
Yeah.
I mean, this looks really nice.
That is
It
nice.
does look really nice. I'm just not quite sure from that photo, like if it's gonna quite be the right shade.
I mean, the base fabric is cotton, so if it's not the right shade, you could always dye it.
Oh, that would be a lot of work.
Not necessarily. I mean, you would just need the right shade of red, and then you.
Yes, that's
you
the question, isn't it? Finding the right shade of red.
No, but because the base color is already burgundy, you would basically.
The thing is that it looks like it might be a bit too dark, whereas this is a slightly like lighter, brighter maroon. But honestly, if it is a bit too dark, that might look nice to have the underlayer be a smidge darker than the overlayer. Like it could be really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Also consider the fact that it's cotton, so most likely when you wear it in the sunshine, it will take a couple of months and it will already start to fade a bit.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
UV exposure is a thing.
I don't know if I'm assume that there is a store somewhere in New York that's selling something that looks like that.
I mean, this also seems to be like shipped from Korea, so might be. I mean, you could like basically have a picture of this and go and look at stores if there's like.
But this just
similar stuff.
This seems really good. Like this is the thing that I would be looking for in person, the equivalent of.
Is it? It's like, oh, maybe it's European. It's in euros.
I mean, I think it's in euros because I have clicked the link.
Oh, okay.
I am looking at it.
Data.
I am looking at the thing, so it converts everything to euros because that's my Etsy settings.
But I think this Etsy shop has like a ton of trims imported from Korea, like specifically. I think it's what they do.
Yeah, I mean it seems that way.
And it looks really nice. The one thing that I know exists because I've been looking that would be easier for me than something like this is some trims will come like already ruffled, whereas this I would have to gather it myself to make the ruffle, which means I would have to buy more of it in the first place, and it would be a bit more work and it would be a bit more length. But like asking for like.
But at the same time, I think it's better to actually gather it yourself because then you can just look at it like how much gather you actually want.
Yeah.
And usually, like if you want a lot of gather, you would get like 1.5 times more, or rather you would get 2 times more of the length that you would need if you want like a lot of gather. If you want less, like just a tiny bit, then you would get like 1.5 times more.
I think just a small amount, because this, when I did it with the tool from the pattern, it's not super gathered. I mean, at this point, it is so wrecked you can barely tell that it was gathered in the first place. This tool needs to come off, but think I only need a little bit of gathering. It just needs to ruffle
So
a bit.
my go-to is like you need about this much extra for all the seam allowances and like finishing touches. This is about the amount of extra you will need tentatively. And then if you want to add gather, you would basically like measure the entire length, add a bit of like this much, and then like do like multiply by 1.5, and then you have like the minimum length of trim you need for like a light gather. If you want like a full on like ruffle with like pleats, then 2 times.
I would probably buy enough for like the full on ruffle and then just plan on having extra.
I would totally do it, Kelsey. I mean, and that seems like a steal to me. I just found it, and it's like shipping is like less than $5. So
yeah, and you don't have to pay customs since it's in the same country.
Right.
You could probably pay less than $15 to get enough for your project.
Yeah, it's not like, and even if it didn't work, it's not like I wouldn't use it for something else.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's not quite the right burgundy color, it's gonna be a nice color. It'd be the kind of thing you'd wear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have you looked at any of the people if they put in photos of the product?
That's
in
what
the
I'm
reviews.
looking for. I didn't see any reviews that had that particular color.
Yeah. I think that the burgundy color is newly added to the listing as well. So like the chances that there would be, I'm not seeing any photos at all, but.
In that case, you will either have to go trudging in the fabric in the garment district, or you will have to bite the bullet and just risk it.
I mean, I kind of yeah, I should just try and see if this one is gonna do the trick for me, because even if it isn't, it's gonna be beautiful and it's gonna be something I can use for something. Thank you for enabling me.
No worries, always available.
Exactly what I needed you to do. I also have things bookmarked on Etsy that like would maybe arrive by Halloween that would be fun. Could or be fun like accessories for my Halloween costume, depending on whether they ended up looking good when they arrived. So like I might just place,
I mean, like any kind of order,
Etsy order of impulse purchases today.
I mean, any kind of Etsy, it's like Christmas. You're basically like just giving yourself gifts. That's how I always view online purchases. It's like it's a gift from past you to future you, or present you to future you.
Now Etsy is advertising all of the beautiful embroidered trim to me.
Sorry.
Oh,
Never search for Venetian lace
in
Etsy, because you will. One of the people I follow, she's Estonian designer, and she makes like these Lolita fashion dresses, and she made one from a Moomin fabric, and made it with a Hattifattener lace trim. So the lace itself had Hattifatterners in it. And I was like, where did you get that lace? Because I know that the lace wasn't her own design. She got it from somewhere. And now I'm on the hunt for a Hattifattener lace.
Oh my god.
I don't even know if I need Hattifattener lace.
With gold embroidery. It's like, oh my god, this site's going to be the death of me.
Yes. Rachel, what are you making?
See, we spent a whole half hour just talking about my sewing project. I told you that we could. I would have craft.
That's what we do here. I am finally picking up my pressed flowers shawl that I'm knitting out of 100% hand spun yarn. I am past the halfway point now, I think, and I'm moving into my second color. So, yep. They're just very, very long rows now. So instead of working on this, I've been working on my support spindles because that's like instant gratification compared to this. But, which by the way, I have another spindle here. So, my new spindle.
This is a new one?
This is a new one, yep. I ordered.
So basically, every single time we have a live stream, we will get an update on all the spindles you've acquired.
I think I've got 8 now, and I think I've only shown like 2 or 3 of them before. Anyway, this is.
So mark your calendars for next month's Stitch and Beach. Rachel will do a tour of all of her spindles.
I am desperate to get a Spanish Peacock Ninja spindle now. They have like
what?
They're called
a Spanish
Ninja
Peacock
spindles.
Ninja spindle.
It's
Okay.
called Spanish Peacock, and they make support spindles. And there's a particular type they make that they call a Ninja. And
okay, this makes a little more.
Yeah. And they have one that the bowl of the spindle, the whorl, is made from bog oak from Ukraine. So it's like this almost pitch black oak thing. It's so cool. Anyway, this spindle, I don't remember what wood this is. I got this from Georgia. I got it from a company called Cravelli in Georgia, and not like the American Georgia. It's from Tbilisi.
Okay, Rachel, when I go to New Zealand, I will keep an eye out, and if I find a spindle in New Zealand, maybe I'll get you one.
Please.
To bring to Glasgow. I will keep an eye out. At least I will keep an eye out for the opossum yarn.
Yes. Oh, so actually, I recently came across an Australian fiber artist supplier who does some really interesting blends, including possum. But there's some other things like from Australia, some like luxury fibers I'd never even heard of before. Also, she has bison. I didn't even realize that bison was something that people.
Yeah, I mean, there's an Icelandic like kennel, like they raise huskies and malamutes for sledding. And on a side job, they do yarn from husky and malamute, like shed fur, and then they make like caps. like malamute fur caps, like crochet and knitted.
I know people like hand spinners will spin Samoyed dog fur.
Yeah.
Because they're just little white clouds. I think that's really interesting, but I guess as somebody who's mildly allergic to cats and dogs, I want to know if I would be allergic to the fur, or like if you clean it.
Usually you are not allergic to the fur itself, but the dandruff and oils in the skin.
If you
wash
it and clean it, is it not going to have that same reaction?
I mean, I think you wouldn't know unless you tried it.
Yeah. So if anybody has a Samoyed and they want to send me a bag of fluff, I'll be getting a drum carder in November, and I'll be able to process it. So
nice.
I thought I had a better seam ripper than this one somewhere, but I don't know.
Anything else you're making, Rachel?
Well, I've got like a bazillion other projects, but this is what I am focusing on right now.
Okay, in that case, I am still making the jumper, which I haven't had a lot of progress in the last few, since the last time, because personal life has been kicking my ass. In any case,
as long as you work on it in the live stream, you'll make progress.
I am working on it, and I need to work on it more. But like, but yeah, the what's the word? The resori? Like, what's the word in? Like the rib bit with the ribbing. Ribbing? Yeah, that part. I'm still in that part, and I haven't started the sleeves yet.
Mine has been sitting in a bag on my bedroom floor. I keep thinking, oh, I should work on that. I was having fun with the color work, and then I don't pick it up because color work is hard.
See, that's
And
the thing. I should be having fun with this right now because it will take me for ages before I even get to the color work part. So
that's why
this is gonna be great.
I should just start on the sleeves because it's just, plain stockinette and I can get some progress done. Also, it's really nice to have your sleeves done first so that you're not on sleeve island by the time that you.
Yeah, I was thinking because I was checking through my supplies and I might need to actually go and get new needles just for the sleeve. Because I don't have the same size needles or like even a similar size that the pattern requires.
Mhm.
So I might have to just like go to Snurre tomorrow and
How are you gonna knit the sleeves? Are you gonna use like double pointed needles? Or are you gonna use circulars or?
double pointed.
Okay.
I'm basically gonna knit it like a sock
Okay.
because then I can just have it in my little tiny bag and get it and take it to work. And
Yeah.
when I'm in the middle of waiting for some people to answer their damn messages, I can just knit some rows while waiting for them to give me the information I need to actually process the stuff they need, you know.
I wish I could do that. I used to take my knitting to work, but I was told recently I probably shouldn't do that. So now I'm
I
set.
mean, there's also the fact that like obviously when I'm like because we get really busy, obviously when I'm swamped with work I wouldn't do it, but at the same time we do have legal coffee breaks 2 times a
Yeah.
day for 15
I
minutes plus
I
lunch.
used to take I like knit socks at work all the time because I could knit them while I was watching all the training stuff. Like you have to do training video things all the time.
Yeah,
And it's like a really great thing to like keep my hands busy so that I would actually focus on the thing I was supposed to be learning.
yeah. I mean, I think uh there's some training that is mandatory that is coming up in the next couple of weeks that I need to do as well, so I might I might actually do that as well. Okay. Since have talked about what we are making, let's see who is here. So there's Joe, and Daniela was here at least for a bit. Hey.
I see Ron
And
is here.
then
Hi,
there's
Ron.
Ron is here,
Joe.
and
And
Elise is here. So we've got quite a bit of people. Also, Joe has plugged Kelsey's readathon. So if you are still there's still a couple of weeks left in the month, so be sure to check Kelsey's readathon out, and Dai is
and
also doing the co-hosting for that, so they have videos out.
speaking of no new release-a-thon, I can plug it again with books I've read recently because Joe and I read Scholars of Night for No New Release-a-thon together, and we finished it yesterday.
Nice.
So,
I mean, Rachel, if you want to start, go
sure,
ahead and
sure.
start with what you're reading.
This is I have actually been reading quite a bit, but now it's like, oh, talk about what I've been reading, my mind is completely blank. Like I am not prepared. Anyway, so The Scholars of Night by John M. Ford. Joe and I have been I think we could probably call it a project now. We're gonna read Ford's novels as they come back into print, and we're always going to buddy read them. And now this is the third one we've read together, and we're still like, well, that was fun, it was good, but did you understand it? Because I didn't understand it.
That's what buddy reading is great for, though.
I
So that
know,
you will have another person who will be like, hello,
right?
did you get what this was about?
They are really good books to read with somebody else and discuss because they are dense and there's so much stuff implied that you just have to pick up on. So Scholars of Night is I'm going to call it like an intellectual 1980s spy thriller, like Cold War spy thriller that has a connection to a recently rediscovered manuscript of Marlowe's from the Elizabethan age. So it's like Cold War and nuclear weapons and possible Soviet agents running around in the US and England and stuff, and a hidden play found in the wall of a manor house. So there's a lot going on.
Is it real or is it fictional?
I think it's fictional.
Oh darn! I was like, new
I
Marlo.
actually, I need to look into it more because, well, when we first started reading this, Joe and I were both like, wow, this is going to have to do a lot with Marlo and the kind of person that he was. And both of us were like, the only thing we know about Marlo is that he died in a tavern brawl. That's like what everybody knows about him.
Okay, I will one up your knowledge of Marlowe of like, if you think that you have less knowledge of Marlowe, the only knowledge I have of Marlowe is what I learned from the Gwyneth Paltrow Joseph Fiennes movie Shakespeare in Love.
Wait, Marlo's a character in that?
Yes, he's a rival for Shakespeare in that movie.
I've never seen that movie.
Allegedly maybe question mark a spy himself, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there's this whole thing in the book about how he may have been like a secret agent and which side was he on, and is this mysterious play that he possibly wrote maybe a banned work because somebody realized it was based on a true thing that he had done or something like that. It's complicated. So it was a really fun read. Like, I quite enjoyed this, but there's so much going on in it.
This is where I feel like I don't remember as much about Marlo as I theoretically should have, given that I was like interning at a theater company off Broadway when they did a production of Tamburlaine, where like I was arranging some of the organization of the educational materials, and like I did a lot of reading about Marlo. And do I remember it?
I have so Tamburlaine is the play that I think all the 7 parts of the novel all begin with quotes from Tamburlaine, but it's not the secret play from the story.
There are 7 parts of the novel.
There are 7 chapters, aka parts in in it. Yeah.
I will say Tamburlaine is not a play that like appeals greatly to modern sensibilities. It's a bit tough. It's a lot of like blood and conquests. Rah rah rah.
Didn't he write Faustus though?
Yes, but that wasn't the play that the theater company I was interning with was producing when I was doing my humanities internship that involved putting together the online educational materials. We were doing Tamburlaine.
Oh, so I would love to try reading some Marlo now. I need to see if I can find any of his plays. It's not something that you can just like go to the library and find these days, though. So, well.
But isn't that the great thing about
library and find Marlo?
You can't go to the library and find most drama, at least here. I would have to like interlibrary loan it. It's kind of weird.
I guess not all. I'm gonna brag about living in New York. Not all cities have entire performing arts libraries.
It's true.
But like I'm embarrassed at how little I actually now sitting here seem to remember about Marlowe's biography, given that I spent like a good couple months researching him at one point in my life.
Well, I mean, he died really young, didn't he? He died before he was 30.
He did, yeah.
But also, like, isn't the point of like when you do work that you kind of want to forget
it afterwards?
Yeah.
Especially if it's Tamburlaine.
Yeah. I was not exceptionally fond of that play, but I did see that production multiple times.
I'm also I'm listening to the audiobook of Blackmail and Babinka by Mia P. Manansala, which that's the Filipino cooking food mystery series that Dai has been raving about. And now I'm on this 3rd installment, and my God, I wish I had access to a Filipino restaurant. I just want to try the desserts, man.
So a bunch of my coworkers have been, not a Filipino restaurant, but it's like East Asia, no, South Asian fusion cooking, and it's basically this place where you go there and you make your own noodle soup. You like choose the variety of noodle and the variety of broth, and then all the toppings or the things you want to go inside the broth. And they've been going there like at least once a week, and I still haven't found the time to join them. And I'm like, the FOMO is real because everyone is like, oh, it's so delicious, it's fantastic, and I'm like,
Well, then bring me
must
some.
be nice. Anything else you're reading?
What else have I read? I read volume 2 of Kaidashi Kiko. No, Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko. I don't know how to say that. Which I thought counted for no new release-a-thon, and then I remembered it doesn't because the translation is new. So can't do that one. But it's a slightly older manga, which is kind of it's actually very sci-fi. It's like slice of life for a robot lady who lives in a futuristic Japan where there are not a lot of people anymore, and the seas are rising, and like the coastlines are disappearing and stuff. And she just does things like hangs out in her coffee shop and says hello to her neighbors and goes on shopping trips to Yokohama to get coffee beans, and I love it.
It's kind of a solar
Wait, what
punk.
is this called?
Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko. It's
I will have to stalk you on Goodreads to find it.
Yeah. It's finally being published in English for the first time in these deluxe editions from 7C.
Yeah. Some of us might have read it earlier. Let's put it this way: sketchy sources.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because it has been fan translated before.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm super enjoying it. I just found out that the third deluxe edition actually came out in like August, so I'm hoping that the library will get it for me. But sometimes it's kind of new, so they might not be able to get it yet.
Yeah. If that is all that you've been reading, I might go next because I have a suspicion that Kelsey might have a lot more
to say.
stuff to talk.
Sure.
Yeah, a lot to say. So I might take this time to go through what I've been reading. First of all, Rachel, I will have you know, I read Barbarities, Volume 3.
And oh, that tells me everything.
Let's put it this way. There was a kiss between our
Was it a sketchy non-con kiss, or was it, oh, they're actually warming up to each other?
It's okay. At worst, it's a dub-con kiss.
It's that kind of manga.
but you know, like it's, you know, these two, like, but it's kind of like Joel would never admit that he like this makes me feel like this makes me sound like an apologist when I say, well, Joel would never admit that he wanted it in the first place, which is like, no. But like at the same time, like their whole dynamic is that Joel is so he's so dishonest with himself about what he wants, and he's so focused solely on his like work that he like prioritizes his work over everything else, and like, so this volume was like 90% politics, and based on everything that happened in this volume, I would be surprised if Tsuta Suzuki manages to wrap this up in the next 2 volumes.
Is there another note at the end that was like, I thought I would wrap it up in this one?
Yeah, there's gonna be a 4th volume. Yeah. There is. But I'm also suspecting that based on, like, because the politics is getting huger every single volume. Like, every time there's, like, if she just kept it, like, contained a little bit, like, it could be a 4-volume series, but at this point, I'm expecting it to actually be a 5-volume series. More likely, a 6-volume series, considering that she has 2 couples that she needs to, like, resolve all of their tensions. And the side couple has a lot more unresolved issues because they have a lot of that baggage, the master servant and the master
Mhm.
other thing, all of that built up resentment going on. So yeah, but it's good. I like it. So if you like this is basically a secondary world fantasy series with no magic though, taken inspiration from like Renaissance Enlightenment Europe, and yeah, basically it's about this judge, um, this guy, trying to figure out the treasonous plot in his country, and he's like a lot of people are trying to get him killed, which is why he needs this guy to be his bodyguard. So it's bodyguard romance, and it's very slow burn. And then there's also like the king of the neighboring country who is like who's a little bit of a sketchy dude who's having a relationship with his like servant on the sly. So
That
there's
was
some,
not slow burn, by the way.
yeah,
That's where the smut is.
yeah, that relationship is where the smut is. The second volume has one of the longest smut scenes I have read in my entire history of reading BL. It was long. Like I was reading it in the train when we were when we were going to Turku, and I was just like, I feel like I have been reading this scene forever. Like it's been ages. But yeah, anyway, that has been good. And then I've been reading now two webtoons that are continuing. Well, three if you count Semantic Error, but Semantic Error is coming out a little bit slower. The main characters are finally talking about their feelings in Semantic Error, so I'm like, fingers crossed that good things will happen. But it's like they're finally kind of like actually talking about having a relationship as opposed to being just hookup buddies. And then there's a Remarried Empress, which is continuing to be all about like politicking and like these two basically empires kind of just like there's conflict between them, and we shall see if it ends in like the main premise of the series is like there's this empire, and the empress of that empire gets cheated on by the emperor, and the king of the neighboring kingdom swoops in and marries her when she gets a divorce, and she gets like a special permit from like the country's like bishop to remarry, and she immediately remarries the neighboring kingdom's like ruler, and it's delicious. It's like very good. There's also like a web novel of that as well. That's where all
What
the
is this
smut is.
called again?
Remarried Empress. It's on Webtoon, so where you can read like Lore Olympus. So it's and it is also a very slow burn, but there's like a bunch of like it's currently I think on the third season.
Oh
So,
my lord, there's 144 episodes.
and it's worth it. It's great. Comes
I
out
get to
every
read
Sunday.
one per day though if I don't pay for it, I think. Or wait, can you read stuff for free on Webtoon?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
I read it. Like it I don't think it's on the like there's limitations. There's like the ones that are on daily pass, but I don't think Remarried Empress is on daily pass. You might have to have an account though. But I have not paid for it, at least not recently. I did at some point though, because I read all of it, and then I was like, I want to know what happens.
Bookmarked.
Yes, and then another one that I just started was When Fate Finds Us, which is on Manta, and that I think you do need to like pay for, because I have a $3.99 per month Manta subscription, so I get to pay read like unlimited. Like it's an app. So they're like Semantic Error and Under the Oak Tree are both in Manta. So anyway, When Fate Finds Us is basically about this like priestess who can see the future, when she like touches people, she can like prophesy what is gonna happen to them. And because of this ability, she's like ever since she was like young, she has been sort of promised as a sacrifice as a sort of god's wife. So when she comes of age, they're gonna basically ritually murder her, and she kind of wants to avoid this fate.
Yeah.
So she basically kind of coerces the main male character to save her in order, like because he's having some like there's this like long lost family heirloom that he wants to find for reasons, and she touches him and sees that in the future he finds that heirloom. So then she will be like, hey, if you save me from my awful fate, then I will help you find out how to get this family heirloom. So that's how, and obviously they're probably gonna fall in love in the process. But yeah, that's what I've been reading. Just webtoons and manga.
I will be right back. I need to give my tea a little reheat. I know it's like about my time to start talking, but I need to fix my tea situation.
I need
Well,
to find my tea.
I can also like if I haven't talked about this manga before, I can quickly talk about this thing that I read a while ago, which is The Invisible Man and His Soon-to-Be Wife. This is basically about the main character is blind, and then she starts dating her boss, this guy who runs a detective agency, which employs like there's one human, then there's one like beast woman, who's like their muscle essentially, and then she's the secretary and he's like the main detective guy. And it's basically kind of a slice of life romance in this like in this like fantasy world where there are a bunch of like there's elves and there's ghosts and there's like aliens and stuff like that.
Do people notice he's invisible, and is that weird?
Well, he is invisible, and people don't really comment on it. He just wears nice suits and stuff, and people are like, okay, so you know, like because everyone in this world is kind of magical,
Okay.
like or rather, it is not. It is not that interesting that people are magical because there's so many magical people and magical entities that it's just daily life. But yeah, he runs a detective agency because he is invisible, and then he just takes off his clothes and does the detectiving.
I just imagine that. I was like, oh my god, this guy is like
Don't
creeping
imagine
around
too much.
investigating, and he's butt naked, but nobody knows.
Yeah, but well, that's the perks of being invisible, isn't it? But yeah, so it's basically about their like romance, how they start dating, and like eventually. So I've read the first volume. There's gonna be I think there's more out, and the art style is actually pretty good. Like like it's interesting because it's not black and white. It's like this.
Mm,
So the background
that's
is like
interesting.
blue.
Is the whole manga like that, or just some
Yeah,
pages?
yeah, the whole thing.
Oh wow, I never
Yeah,
seen that before.
yeah. That's why it's like very interesting to look at. It's like there's a lot of like contrast. It makes for like it makes it easy. I think it kind of makes it easier to like distinguish what is happening in
Yeah,
various panels.
yeah.
But yeah, they have like very very cute moments. This is where they are flirting a little bit, and this is just how he's drawn. But there are moments because like she's blind, and then like she wants to like see how he looks. So sometimes he will like there are panels like this where she's like touching his face and stuff, and like trying to picture
Oh.
how he looks like and stuff. So yeah, recommend it. It is good. Like it's kind of like sort of every single chapter is like self-contained. Like it has a longer overarching story which is about them getting together. But basically, every single chapter is kind of like a self-contained story in and of itself, where they like solve some mystery or like some thematic thing.
Is it like episodic in the way that Spy Family is?
I would say it's even more episodic than Spy Family because there are more like shorter chapters that each have like a concluding thing. like it's more akin to kind of like a gag manga in that sense, that it's like punchline, like a thing happens and then there's this punchline at the end. But yeah, very good.
I would immediately interlibrary loan it, but I can't make any more requests until I take my stuff back to the library later today.
So just, put a pin in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, basically all that I have been doing lately is like reading romance. I do have the Sixth Extinction still on audiobook that I should finish, because also our work book club is gonna be discussing it. But at the same time, it's like it's too much. It's too depressing. I need to like I need to not dwell too much about the state of our world, because it's too much. But yeah, Kelsey, go next.
Oh, hi, Andrea.
Hello.
So I have been reading no new releases, and I've been posting little snippet video reviews of each of the books I've read for the No New Release-a-thon on TikTok. So I'm way behind in all the YouTube videos I need to film and post, but I'm very active on TikTok right now. The first book I finished for No New Release-a-thon was Swords Point, which is one of the ones that I, classic of a sort. And
how did you like it?
I enjoyed it.
Good.
I know this is a book you have strong feelings about, Reija.
I have very strong feelings about it. It is my favorite book of all time.
It's one of the things that struck me about it, just in terms of like sort of history of fantasy literature, is that it, despite being a fun book to read, it's entertaining, it's very, very cynical.
I think in terms of like the series as a whole, as in like Swords Point, then Privilege of the Sword, then Fall of the Kings, and also like the Tremontaine, which is kind of a separate thing because there's multiple authors, but in terms of like the first three, Swords Point is probably the most cynical, and I think that has to do with the fact that Alec is in the worst.
Well, I also wonder if that has to do a little bit with sort of the trends of the fantasy genre over the years that this series has been written and published.
No, but this was published in either 86 or 87.
80s, yeah. And then like Privilege of the Sword, which I haven't read yet, and Fall of Kings, which I also haven't read yet, were in the 90s. And I feel like 90s...
it's just my personal take, but like I personally think, and having read like a bunch of like Swords Point was kind of a stepping stone for me to read more in that same genre around that same time, and also like various books that have been inspired by it, like for example Saramonet's Doctrine of Labyrinths has been inspired like not heavily, but like thematically a lot by like basically this whole like male romance thing, kind of Western BL, I should say, in terms of fantasy. And I think that with Swords Point is not necessarily about the trend of the era, but more it's a character choice.
It's a character choice, but it's a broader like world view that book has when it spends time with the nobility, and its politics. Like it's like a very dark look at people. I'm also very fascinated by the role this book has in the development of the genre of fantasy of manners. And this is like, in terms of the fantasy of manners side of things, like pretty nasty in terms of the like you're dealing with all of these nobles, and you spend a lot of page time with them, not just with Richard and Alec, who are very emotionally attached to, but all of these nobles who are scheming to get each other murdered by means of swordsmen. And there's some very like sharp commentary on the political situation that they're all vying around. Like the central political conflict here is basically a head of state who's trying to stay in office past his term limit. And you would sort of want that person to be bad and then to have some like good government alternative opposing him. And yet none of these people are really political idealists in any way. They're all vying for, self-enrichment.
I think it's also interesting to note that like this book came out, I think, during the Reagan administration, when the next political candidates were Bush Senior and so it's also
this whole thing about we ostensibly don't have a monarchy anymore, but the nobles are running everything with their little wink wink nod nod. And
yeah. So I think it might be also like the political climate that it was written in is influencing it, because the
politically cynical book is what I'm trying to say. That it's very sharp and very witty, but you spend a lot of chapters with the POVs of these various nobles, none of whom you want to be rooting for.
Yes. I mean, you don't even want to be generally rooting for Alec either, in terms of like...
No, and you're not rooting for I mean, if you're rooting for anyone in this book, you're rooting for Richard, but he is the murderer and you're rooting for him to get away with it at his murder trial.
Well, this reminds me of a reel, because my friend sent me like Jujutsu Kaisen reels about, like, Rachel knows this, but the character of Toji, and there was this reel that said like he was a good guy, like, what about the people he murdered? What murder? And this is what I think about with Richard as well.
I wanna point out Ron's comment with the 3 short stories at the end, because I also read that same edition that had the short stories. And I agree that some of that other content sort of softens it a bit, but that's part of why I wondered, because I will be reading the other books eventually, is where this book ends up being sort of placed within the broader series.
Out of all of the books currently out in the series, in terms of the main books, Privilege of the Sword is the most optimistic.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, my favorite is still Swords Point. Followed closely by Fall of the Kings, actually, because like Fall of the Kings is like very interesting because it deals a lot with the university.
I want to point out, since we were talking about Marlowe earlier, my very favorite part of Swords Point is the scene where they're at the theater and you get this lengthy, intense description of this like play.
Then you will be happy to know that is what happens in every single one of the books.
It's
in every single one of the books, they go to a theater at one point.
You get this intense, like, chapter-long description of every event that happens in this terrible play.
Yeah, that is...
like, it's my favorite thing I've ever read.
But that is basically what happens in each of the books. They go to a theater, and then you get to witness the play that they are watching.
It's the best.
And I think in the Privilege of the Sword, there's also...
on a park bench and just cackling.
in Privilege of the Sword, there's also there's the actress who is like a major side character.
Oh my god, I need to reread Privilege of the Sword now because this is they're bringing back memories.
But I reread Swords Point for the umpteenth time last year, and I had like a few years in between of my like last reread. And I honestly, like, when I reread Swords Point last year, I had forgotten how vicious Richard is as a character, because I remember when I read it the first time in my tweens, and I was like, he's such a cinnamon roll.
He does
He's a
so
goblin
many
with your
murders.
boyfriend.
So
No,
many
he's not.
murders.
What murder? What murder? All of the murders. Multiples of murders. But yes, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm always very protective of that book, so whenever someone says that I'm reading it, I'm kind of like,
Yeah, I think it holds up incredibly well. I think it's sort of a shame that it's not as widely known and read as it is. Like, it would make a great TV miniseries adaptation. I think
yes.
people would love it. So yes, that was a really good start to my No New Release-a-thon. And then I read In the Labyrinth of Drakes, which is a very different type of Fantasy of Manners, but also fantasy world with no magic. So that was a strong trend for me. And I hadn't read the previous book. I read the previous book in that series. Book 3 was Voyage of the Basilisk, I want to say. I read that in maybe 2018. So it had been a good long while, and I was really unsure if...
Is this about the Lady Trent series?
Yes.
Okay. I never really got on with those books myself.
I was really unsure if I would be able to follow anything that was happening, but one thing I appreciated intensely about it is that I think Marie Brennan does a really great job keeping each volume like separate enough that it has its own story arc, and then she reminds you very subtly and very clearly about any relevant plot points from previous volumes. And it's never like a summary of what happened in previous books, but
see, there's this thing that Robin Hobb does, that she has a full-on like a one-page summary of of the previous book in every single, like, it's not necessarily subtle, but it's like, and here's what you missed in the last thing. And I for one, because there's like so long between like the times when I read them, because they're emotionally distressing, I kind of like that there is a summary.
I think what the Lady Trent books do is with the framing device of this being her memoirs, is there's sort of a obviously an actual assumption that readers are reading this series in order, but an in-universe possibility that like she might be addressing someone who has picked up only this book in her memoirs because, you know, of the famous discovery in the Labyrinth of Drakes. That might be the only part of her life story you were interested in, so you might only be picking up book 4 of Lady Trent's memoirs because you know her life story, but you want to hear about this expedition. So there's a sort of a clever excuse for saying, by the way, if you didn't read the previous volume, or if you did read the previous volume, you will remember, but no, like, assumption that you have. Anyways, it worked really well for me, and I was able to jump right in without revisiting any of the previous books, which I really appreciated. And those are sort of fun cotton candy reads for me. The dragon science is fun. The romance in this one is fun. And then the third book that I read was a tiny little novella called The Lilies of Dawn by Vanessa Fogg, also from 2016, which is sort of mythic folklore inspired thing that's it's very, very short, so I don't know how much I want to say about it, but I thought it was is one of those things that is so much up my alley that it would have to be like truly exceptional to make a bigger impression on me than it did, because I read so much of this type of fiction. I thought it had a very strong ending, and I kind of I had read another story by Vanessa Fogg when I was doing my Hugo reading. That was The Bones Beneath. It was in Podcastle, and like that story made such an impact on me that I went into this novella with like very high expectations, and this didn't make quite as much of an impact, even though it was like more specifically my type of thing. But it's still a great little fantasy novella that I totally recommend. And now what I'm reading is two books at once, because I've been trying to let myself completely mood read and like open up book pages when I'm, you know, trying to figure out what to read next for this readathon, and just like see which book of all the ones on my shelves I fall into. And I've sort of fell into two of them, but neither of them like hard enough to draw me away from the other. So I'm making very, very slow progress in both The 100,000 Kingdoms and A Stranger in Alondria.
Ooh, and A Stranger in Alondria is a pretty slow read to begin with.
It is dense, and like I sort of thought that I was going to maybe have that one on like going for the rest of the month while reading faster paced books.
In the Stranger in Alondria by Sophia Samatar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay. I remember
Maya
God, reading
the writing is beautiful. It was
it's fantastic. Yeah.
It's one of those books that every time I open it, I spend like forever on a page, like, oh, this is gorgeous, and then I set it back down again. It's like time to read the next page. The next page is also gorgeous. Okay, I've had enough.
See, I have this weird thing, like for example, when I back in the day when I read the Strange the Dreamer, like people were saying that it's like purple prose, and I also thought that it was purple prose, but it was one of those like where I was just like sitting in and reading a page, and I was like, this is tickling the right parts of my brain at this very moment with just the like vividness, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you get that? Like it's like.
Oh, I get that with every book that everyone has ever described as having purple prose, because I love that. For me, like, yes, Strange the Dreamer, I loved that one.
I still have not finished that.
The Starless
about Laini Taylor
one that is not everyone's cup of tea, but I read that as like an early pandemic quarantine read where I was trapped inside, like drinking tea, watching.
For me, like,
you need to blow my nose.
For me, like, Strange the Dreamer was interesting because it was one of those books where, like, I figured out the main like twist, what was gonna happen at the end, like before I think the 15% mark of the book, and then the whole final stretch of me just reading it was like, when is it gonna be revealed? I know it's a thing, and then there's these red herrings like, no, it's not gonna be a thing. I know it is gonna be a thing. and then like watching people talk about it on BookTube and everyone being like, I was so surprised by the ending twist, and I'm like, how? It was so obvious. But then I also realized later that it might just be a neurodivergent thing that you, like, when you read so much and you become like pattern recognition thing. So it's easier to like, for example, when you like watch TV series or anything, any kind of plot thing, where it's like like you start to like notice specific like tropes,
Mm-hmm.
and if you just spend enough time with them, your brain becomes this pattern recognition engine, and then you're like, I know this is gonna lead to this. And
Uh-huh.
then that is why sometimes things become boring to read or watch, because you
That is
keep
the reason
predicting them.
why I never get past like the first 2 episodes of so many television shows.
Yeah, or anything, but like basically that's the thing. Like, and I never knew that was why, but it's apparently that is why. It Because like if your brain is just wired that way. Anyway,
What
anything
was I
else,
saying?
Kelsey?
Oh yeah, so I'm very slowly reading A Stranger in a Laundry, and I sort of thought The 100,000 Kingdoms might be the thing that I would like read quickly, but it's also going a little slower for me. So I'm reading 2 books right now that are both going slowly for me, and they both have protagonists from like backwaters who've arrived at big cities like at the exact same time in my reading. And both have to a certain extent very beautiful writing, although Sophia Samatar's is much denser. So I don't know which of those I'll finish first, if I'll finish both of them, if I'll ditch one and pick up something else. I definitely want to finish the Lady Trent series this month, because there's only one more in the main series, and then I don't have to finish there's a spin-off novel. I don't have to read that one this month, but I do want to read Within the Sanctuary of Wings, and then like I could read some other Ellen Kushner. I have Privilege of the Sword. I have Thomas the Rhymer.
Thomas the Rhymer is also very good. Completely
Nice.
separate, but it's like if you
I
if you
know.
love any like ballads or like
Mhm.
for
See,
example
I always thought
Tamlin myth and stuff.
I always thought that was gonna be the first Ellen Kushner book I picked up, because it's specifically my type of thing. But
I actually think that it's good that you read it after, because I think, how to explain it, like Riverside books give you a certain expectation of her writing, and then when you read Thomas the Rhymer, it's very different.
I'm excited for that. I want to read something very different from her, just see the sort of scope of her writing, because
it was interesting, like when she was a guest of honor in FinCon back in the day in 2010. She actually sang. She played the like acoustic guitar and sang parts of like things that she had written for Thomas the Rhymer, because there's a lot of like songs in that book.
Oh wow.
It's really nice.
so
She's a very good singer.
there are very different ways I could go for the rest of the month here in my reading, but that's what I've read so far. It's been thrilling. It's been wonderful. I honestly, I wish I could keep going for several more months.
Why not?
Well, because eventually there's going to be Hugo nominations for next year, and I haven't read any of this year's releases yet.
It's fine. It's gonna be fine.
But
Eventually, Glasgow is probably gonna tell us like 2 months in
will
advance
never
when
like
they're.
me if I don't read new releases.
But honestly, Glasgow is probably tell us 2 months in advance that nominations are starting this time, and then you have like a couple of months to read the things. That's what I'm hoping for based on their communication so far.
Yeah.
Hey, isn't Chengdu next weekend?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Ready for the Hugos? I'm not.
Not really.
I mean,
This is like I don't know what has happened to me in terms of like I feel like I have this entire year I have been not only in a huge reading slump, my whole reading has been plummeting. Like for the past 7 years, I read up to 60 books not even counting comics. And this year, even counting comics, I'm less than 40.
This year's
Obviously,
been tough.
I'm not tracking webtoons, so that's a different story because
Wow.
it's very hard to track them. So obviously, I'm still reading stuff, but it's like it's like I like it's so weird. Like I mean, I've been prioritizing going to events and like doing stuff, and then like the traveling stuff and all of that. But it's like feels weird when I kind of like, especially like as a reader, I've kind of like based my identity towards like the sheer volume of the stuff that I have read. And like now that there's like social engagements that my friends actually want me to go places, I have to realize that, oh, the reason was that I was a shut-in in my own house. I guess that, that helped, make the volume go up in terms of reading. I mean, I wish to like get like at some point getting into that place where I can have a balance of both of those things, because like now it's like one or the other. So there's like hyperfixation was to reading up till last year, and then now it's like hyperfixating on another thing. I'm just, can I just get a balance of both? Thank you.
Something I've been telling myself this year is that it's okay for your interests to change and for the amount of time you spend on your interests to fluctuate, like,
Yeah.
but also sometimes when you get into something new, you just want to immerse yourself into it. Like there's that period where it's all about like, hey, spinning on spindles, or hey,
Yeah.
social activities with my coworkers or whatever. And
Yep.
that's fine. Like that is the natural process of things, is to really devote yourself to
Yeah,
something new. And
basically my interest currently is um like this weird, well, self-improvement, obviously, because I go to the gym, so that's become one thing. And I can't really listen to
the
audiobooks.
museums.
Well, that too, but that's hopefully that hyperfixation will end once I've actually been there. But it's like, well, now in the planning phase, it's like hard to do anything else but plan the trip. But any case, it's gonna be great when I go there, hopefully.
Yes.
Unless I crash the car, then it's not gonna be great. But like,
Don't
I will not jinx it.
catastrophize.
I will not jinx it.
You're gonna be fine.
It's gonna be good. I can always pull over. I keep telling this to myself. I can always pull over
Yes.
when I feel overwhelmed.
Yes.
In any case, yeah. Do we want to talk about media a little bit? Iterating from the start of the live stream, we will not be discussing any struck works in solidarity with the SAG-AFTRA strike, which is still ongoing. The actors are yet to reach an agreement, and currently, as of October 5th, video games are also included in the struck works. So I have a few things. I have been watching anime. I watched the entirety of Sekaiichi Hatsukoi in these past 2 days, which is based on a boys' love manga of the same name that I read years ago. So this anime is also very old. It's like in the I want to say the late noughts or the very early 2010s. So it is at least 10 years old, possibly less, because when it came out it was like 720p. It's not even 180.
As a BL anime, how does it hold up?
So first of all, it is not as steamy as the manga is, because obviously they showed this on TV. So a lot of it is fade to black, and you see them after the fact rather than It also has very, very, very much dubious consent.
That's what I was wondering.
I would also go so far as to say that because the main like two of the three romances that you follow in the story are workplace romances. There's one between an editor and his like mangaka that he's like supervising and editing for, and then there's the one between the editor in chief and one of his editors. So it's like a boss subordinate romance. And let me tell you, like, HR would have a field day in that office if any of those interactions came to light. or if that company even had an HR, because like
Probably don't.
I was kind of like, this guy, this like the main character can't even go to the damn elevator without getting harassed by his boss. Like, poor man. Like, and then like the first episode basically ends with the boss saying, like, because they find out that they used to date when they were in like high school. So it's like
They
the
didn't
first
remember
love.
each other?
Mhm.
Did they remember each other?
Yeah, like they find out in that episode that, oh wait, we know each other, but it's been like 10 years since like they were together, and then the boss has never gotten over him, or rather they both have never gotten over each other, because there's a lot of like stuff that happened anyway. But the boss basically tells his employee that, I'm gonna make you fall in love with me again, and before this is over, you're gonna be telling me that you love me. And I'm just like, yeah, this is
No.
this is not gonna end. Sure, that's like, maybe wait until his trial period is over.
I'm gonna guess he doesn't go about this fall in love with me plan by, like, I don't know, buying him flowers and sending him chocolates. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
no, there's no such thing. It's more like forcibly doing kabedon against the wall, and like, following him to his apartment and stuff like that. Oh, they also find out that they're neighbors as well. They live like right next door to each other. So even more opportunities for the harassment continue outside of working hours.
No.
Okay.
But I still watch the whole thing.
Eh,
Like 24 episodes.
I understand. I've been there. I've watched large amounts of things where I'm cringing the whole time. It's okay.
Like the word, okay, but that wasn't okay. I can't talk. So I watched another anime, which is like it just started. So it's basically is it the inexperienced you and the experienced girlfriend or something like that? And it's basically about this guy who starts dating this girl who's gone out with like multiples of guys and stuff, blah, 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 blah. And it was gross. It was honestly like the first episode, and I was just like, okay, I hate this already. And the it's a 25-minute episode, including the intros and outros, you know? And I was pausing the episode just to complain to Hermes. Like, you know, the feeling when you're sitting there on the couch and petting your cat, and you're just complaining to your cat, why are we watching this? And he's just looking at you like, I don't know, like, why, I don't understand you. I can only understand my name. Why are you talking to me about the series that I don't give a damn about? And I'm just there like, I hate everything about this.
So
But
you
yeah.
didn't watch episode 2?
No, I'm not
Okay.
going to. It was like, it was one of those things where also the way it is drawn also irked me, because like it's one of those things where it draws the female, like the women characters in like, and especially since it takes place in a high school, and it draws the female characters in very like these voyeuristic, like kind of like they're meant to be like super sexualized, and I'm like,
How about no?
not for me, no, thank you.
So
Because
I just rewatch Jujutsu Kaisen episodes for the great animation.
Yeah, basically, like, oh, Jujutsu Kaisen's latest episode. The Nanami content.
That. In watching the latest episode, I was like, dang, I don't know anything about animation, but this is really good.
Yeah, I mean, but also the Nanami content in the latest episode. It's like, yes, please.
So in one of the previous episodes where what's his face is on top of the building just screaming Nanami, Nanami, I started laughing so hard. I'm like, I know it's not even
Nanami.
It's not even a funny time, but
Yuji is
such a silly himbo, and I love it.
But Yuji as a character is like a complete golden retriever energy. I also loved when he was like to Fushiguro, he was like just like, you suck at lying, don't you? Don't mind. It's okay. But yeah, that's like one of the. Oh, and Spy Family season 2 started. I've yet to watch it though, because I want to rewatch some of the last episodes in the first season. But yeah, Spy Family's second season is currently airing as well. So Yay! More Anya being all waku waku.
I really want to start binge watching the new Fruits Basket.
Yes, I
But
kind of want to watch it.
I feel like it's
Watch
going
it
to
as
be a
well.
very special experience, and I don't want to watch it alone.
I mean, I'm planning on watching it. Or rewatching it actually. Um,
Wait, you've already seen it?
I've seen like half of it, but I never finished because then I moved. Like
Ah.
last that it there were things I didn't feel like watching it because I was watching it together, you know. So it's
Mhm.
like so now I'm kind of having to go back and rewatch it so I can rebuild the memory, so it's not tainted by other things. So you know, it's like my
Well,
brain is weird.
I was gonna say this would be a great holiday buddy watching thing, but you're gonna be out of the country,
That
so
is true. That is true. I'm not gonna be watching anything except like mountain ranges.
I'm still seam ripping. I thought this would go so much faster, and it's just tedious, and the tool is like disintegrating as I pull it. I'm tired of this tool. I want it dead.
Yeah, seam ripping is never
more
fun.
do you have to do? Are you like halfway or?
Maybe over halfway. Yes, I'm definitely over halfway. I actually don't have that much to go. I only have this much to go.
Okay.
I'm halfway in my row. Hopefully I can finish this before
I'm
I go
just
to
like,
sleep.
whoever thought that prescribing tool for this pattern was a good idea?
Eh?
Will never sew
At
with.
the rate that you're going, though, you'll get it done by the time the live show's over with, though. So
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of, anyone else been watching anything?
I have absolutely no media to discuss because I've been no new release-a-thoning books. So,
What about you, Rachel? Aside from Jujutsu Kaisen?
Jujutsu Kaisen. I can't remember if last month I had finished Skip and Loafer, but I did finish that. And
Last month, I don't think you had even started it.
no, I had just started it. Oh no, it was a different conversation when I was telling you about it.
Ah, okay.
Because you were like, oh yeah, well you could just continue reading the manga.
Yeah, I still
More of a
maintain.
story.
I still maintain there are interesting things happening in the manga as we speak.
Yeah.
Which
So
I am not reading on any sketchy sites.
I think what I will probably end up watching next while I'm waiting for the weekly Jujutsu Kaisen episode is the Chinese anime that Kelsey was talking about last time. Because
Yes,
I
the
watched part of
Star
the first
something.
episode and I was like, oh yeah, I do like this. And so it's been sitting in my watch later list on YouTube since then.
I hope it's still available on YouTube. That's the thing
I
with
gotta check. Yeah.
their YouTube channel is they like put things behind the paywall at random intervals.
We'll see. I have their playlist for it bookmarked, so I guess I'll just check it periodically and see if it's available.
And sometimes even if you like, because usually when they put it in the paywall, they unlist the playlist or they do the unlisting. But if you have the links, then you usually can watch it.
Right.
Yes, Mr. Rorosuri. I am gonna watch that as well. I heard many things about this. Not sure if I'm going to go with the manga, but I will start with the anime first and let's see if it's gonna be like the same thing as happened with To Your Eternity, which I also started as the anime, and then the anime ended and I was like, oh no, I need to know what's gonna happen. So I bought the entire manga series that was available up until that point in ebook, and I have just been binging the volumes. But yeah, I like everyone's been saying that Feren's Beyond Journey's End is gonna be like one of the best shows that's coming out like in this cycle of like simulcasts. So I'm really excited for that. Gonna start it soon. Also, I guess we could talk about how disappointed I was in Happy Marriage's ending.
We have not talked about that.
We have
I
not
kept
talked
meaning
about
to
it. I
message
was
We're all
you.
just so disappointed in it that
I
we.
was just like
Ah!
it just went out like instead of going out like a bang, it went with a
It was so fast, and it was like, oh, they're gonna be happy. And I'm like, they haven't even talked.
when we
Right.
knew and
We're
we
gonna
still
cram
got
everything
nothing about
important
the
into
main
one
character, the
episode.
male lead.
I mean, okay, so the anime has adapted like the first 2 volumes of
Yes.
the light novel, and like looking ahead at like the synopses of the future volumes, like the next story arc that happens after this is where they go meet his like family. So I assume that's the story
Yeah.
arc where we
So
learn about
all of
him.
the
But I
yeah.
felt like the anime, like I haven't read the source material, but I felt like the anime was trying so hard to
conclude it.
Yes.
conclude it in case they don't get season 2 to make it feel like this is an ending. Like the final scene was like the party that she's been, learning social manners and able to attend, but they sort of framed it as if it was their wedding, and it is not. They're not married. They haven't kissed. Like,
And also the
I
things
know.
that
I was
happened
like,
with
we're
the
gonna end it here. Have them get married.
and also the things that happened with the emperor. Like I think that was also a start of an actually bigger storyline in the books, which I haven't read yet. I
and
might,
it's just
but
like there was an explosion and now we're done.
Yeah.
I mean I liked parts of the final episode, like the where she confronts kind of her inner in the dreamscape, where
I
she
liked
confronts her inner like insecurity. I like that part a lot, but at the same time, like I was like, I wish a lot of your inner insecurity and like confronting your inner insecurity didn't come at the behest of finding confidence in yourself because of the man in your life.
Right.
I think that I started to be skeptical of the whole ending when it got to the point where she was like, "Oh, hey, I have magic," and then she just immediately knows how to use it and like do amazing things with it. And I'm like,
Right.
What?
Right. Okay, so she went to like the family home where
Spoilers
she
for My Happy Marriage, by the way.
wasn't supposed to be allowed to leave ever in her whole life, right? Because if she leaves, the nightmares will come back and her magic will plague her. And then they're like, oh, maybe I guess you can leave after all. And then she's like, fine, the nightmares never plagued me again, despite the fact that they have taught her literally no magic.
Exactly. Yeah.
That said, I mean, yeah, it went out in a kind of like a fizz, which is
I did really
unfortunate because
enjoy the first like 6 episodes though. I was like, oh yeah.
also the animation was really good. Like most of the time, there was only like one episode where I felt like it wasn't like up to the standard that the series had. Like
show with like lovely music and pretty visuals. Like it
was great. In like the production was great. It's just that it should have been a 24 episode series, I think, rather than the 12 episode, because it felt like really crammed in by the end. But yeah, glad we had that out of our chest. We are actually coming up on our 2 hours soon, which is interesting considering there's only 3 of us. I was expecting us to go a little shorter today, but this is never how it goes. Is there anything particularly that we're looking forward to in the next coming month?
Holidays.
Must be nice. Is Halloween a bank holiday in the United States?
No, but we're gonna have Halloween, which for me is just stay inside and read while pretending I'm not at home because I'm too scared to like give out candy. So it's usually just a nice reading night for me. But in early November, I'm going to be seeing Lorena McKennitt in college.
Ah, yes.
So I will have a bit of a vacation. I'll get out of town. I'll check something off of my bucket list. It's going to be awesome.
I also have like a concert coming up in November, so I'm really excited about that.
Who are you seeing?
Lorna Shore, so it's like black and deathcore.
Ah.
I don't think it's either of your cup of tea. It's their singer is like Will Ramos. Their singer is like a huge golden retriever puppy dog kind of like vibe, and then his like screams and growls are like industry like he's like one of the greats, I think, in terms of like vocalist for like death metal and black metal. But yeah, I'm gonna see them. But I'm really excited for your Lorena McKennitt because
I'm excited. I hope it lives up to expectations because
why would it not though?
I actually have almost no experience seeing concerts. I've been to a state fair concert once when I was 17. I saw Heart.
So now you would only need to see Kate Bush after this.
I don't think Kate Bush performs live anymore.
Well, that's sad though.
Although I will say, like, I'm hardcore into a couple of Kate Bush's songs, but not her entire body of work. I'm like, anytime I hear Running Up That Hill on the radio, I turn it up. But
I mean, I love Running Up That Hill,
no.
but my favorite Kate Bush song is actually Wuthering Heights.
I can't.
I love that song.
I don't like it.
I love it.
I don't like
But
it.
to be fair, there was a time in my life when I was a huge Wuthering Heights stan. I love that book.
Hill and The Hounds of Love. So, the Hounds of Love, actually, that album was my introduction to Kate Bush. I think it's the only Kate Bush CD that my parents have. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, I have very little experience with seeing live music, and like the concert experience is not something that I really look forward to, but I'm hoping this is going to be a little bit more like going to the symphony than going to an open air concert with huge.
Do you have like seated tickets?
Yes.
Okay, well then it's more like that. When you have to stamp the whole thing, my 30-something buddy can't anymore. Like when I was in the Tuska festival earlier this summer, I was like looking at all the people who had dragged like these camping chairs to go to the place so that they could sit between sets, and I was like, I wish I was smart enough to do that as well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm very excited about that, and I strong-armed my parents into going with me so that they can also say that they, after 40 years of listening to Lorena McKenna, actually saw her in concert.
Yes. That is an excellent family outing, especially if you all like her.
Yes. It's very difficult to get my parents to go anywhere, though.
Now I need to actually check.
I am not like a concert goer in general either, for the most part. There is quite a bit of fall theater in New York that I would be curious to catch, and so I'm not gonna like promise that I'm going to see anything in particular because I'm a rush tickets gal, but I there are some shows that have my interest, that I'm interested and excited to maybe see in the next few weeks, month or so. I had a friend who was passing through town for like one day a couple weeks ago. We saw Here Lies Love on Broadway, and you reminded me of it talking about concerts, because we didn't have the like dance floor tickets. We were sitting in actual seats, but the whole like staging of it is that if there are people like, they've turned the whole theater into a dance floor, and they're moving like platforms around the dance floor and making everyone like move around as the show happens.
That would make me so anxious.
I mean, you don't have to get those tickets. You can't sit in normal seats like we did. And
I just had to like check, because like I was remembering like, okay, because aside from Lorena McKennitt, I have been listening to a lot of, like, for years I have been listening to a lot of other folk singers, and there were these specific songs pertaining to the Arthurian legends that I was just like, who sang these? Like, who the f? Like, the artist name was completely blocked in my mind, but it's Heather Dale.
Oh my god, I used to listen to so much Heather Dale from.
I love Heather Dale, and I still listen to like Trial of Lancelot and Tristan and Isolde is my favorite. That whole album, by the way, very good. I think it also has the Song of Mordred in it.
Yeah.
But yes, Heather Dale.
God, that takes me back.
Yes, I know. It's like 20 years or so. It's like, holy shit, we're old. Like the moment I realized that I had this album, when was it? Oh, back when Windows XP was fresh out of the oven. Like back when people listened to MP3s on Winamp.
Oh man.
But yes, anyway, so Rachel is looking forward to Lorena McKennitt concert. Kelsey, what are you looking forward to?
Some theater. Hopefully, I will see some theater this fall. And in terms of books, geez.
I think the next Murderbot story
Yes!
is in November.
Yes! Yes. Oh, I just woke up Jamie from her nap by yesing so much. She's sitting on the chair over by the window here. I must display the cat for y'all.
I'm not actually sure if Hermie stayed for the like live show at all because he has disappeared now.
The jams. Yeah.
Oh!
You.
What a voice! What a voice!
Yeah.
Jamie is like, do not disturb my slumber.
You have fans on the internet, Miss Jams.
Of course she does.
Your adoring fans are here.
Yeah, you are good. You are loved.
Well, I'm trying to desperately mark my stitch and not let it fall off the hook.
So you've had the Jammy cameo. We're all looking forward to Murderbot. I feel like I have one other pre-order before the end of the year, but that's not next month. I think it's December.
Another thing is that I think next month we are on Kelsey's channel.
Yes, that should be correct.
Yes. So we will let you know when we have settled on a date.
I am so close to getting this tool off. This tool is my
almost. You're almost there.
Almost
but in any case, next month we will be on Kelsey's channel, hopefully with the full roster of people again. Dai is probably going to be joining us depending on the date. Have a very happy rest of the October. Halloween is coming up, so if you have any parties, please be safe and party responsibly. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.